All right, let's dive right in. Today we're unpacking a really powerful idea from Sarah Jaffe's book, Work Won't Love You Back. It tackles that feeling so many of us have, this constant pressure to absolutely love our jobs, even when they leave us feeling totally wiped out and alone. So let's get into it.
I mean, that's the golden question, isn't it? We hear it all the time. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. It's supposed to be the goal, but Jaffe wants us to hit pause and really think about that. What is the actual cost to being required to love our work?
And this is the core conflict that Jaffe really zeroes in on. On one side, you've got the promise, this beautiful idea that our jobs will bring us fulfillment, passion, and joy. But on the other side, for so many people, is a very different reality. Exhaustion, burnout, and just not being paid enough. Jaffe's big argument is that this isn't your personal failure. It's built into the system.
Okay, so if it's a structural problem, and not just us, that begs a huge question. How in the world did we get here? To understand this massive gap between the promise and the reality of work today, Jaffe says we have to go back in time and see how our whole attitude about work has changed.
Well, according to Jaffe, this didn't happen overnight. For a long, long time, under what's called the Protestant ethic, work was just a moral duty. It was about being a good person, not about being happy. Then, in the 20th century, we got the Fordist bargain. The deal was simple: you work hard, and you get security, a decent wage, a pension. It was a fair transaction, not a romance. But then, Jaffe says, everything flipped around the 1970s. This new labor of love idea took over, demanding we find fulfillment at work, right at the exact moment that old promise of security started to disappear.
And that's the fundamental trade-off, right there. We gave up the promise of a stable career, a job for life, a pension you could count on. And what did we get in return? We were supposed to get work that we were passionate about, work that gave us meaning. But you have to ask, was that a fair trade?
Now, Jaffe argues this huge shift didn't just happen in a vacuum. It was propelled by the rise of neoliberalism. It's this economic idea that basically says everything should be subject to market competition. Public services got cut, and we were encouraged to see ourselves not as citizens, but as individual consumers. Your success or your failure, well, that was all on you.
And here's the real kicker. In this new economic landscape, Jaffe says our most human qualities, our ability to care, our creativity, our passion, they stopped being just parts of our personality. They became the actual raw materials to be mined for profit.
So, what does this actually look like for people in their day-to-day lives? Jaffe spends a big chunk of her book investigating what she calls the price of passion. And she uses some really powerful real-world stories to show how this labor of love thing actually plays out.
Let's start with teachers. We expect them to be incredibly passionate, to care deeply for our children. And yet, look at this. Jaffe uses this data to show that teachers face a major pay penalty. They earn over 21% less than other professionals with the same level of education. The unspoken expectation is that their love for the job will make up for the smaller paycheck.
And the thing is, this passion is totally real. Jaffe introduces us to teachers like Rosa Jimenez, who says she chose the job specifically to serve her community. That sense of mission is an amazing thing, but Jaffe argues it's also the very thing that gets taken advantage of when school budgets get slashed and the demands just pile up.
And it's not just about money. Jaffe takes us into the world of care work. A nanny, Adela Sealy, puts it so powerfully here. Think about the emotional cost. Leaving your own kid to pour all your love and attention into someone else's. This isn't just a 9-to-5. It's an emotional transfer that comes with a huge personal sacrifice. And even if you're expected to love your job, or at least act like you do, it doesn't protect you from disrespect. Jaffe recounts this absolutely stunning moment from a former Toys R Us worker. It just shows how so-called unskilled service work is often looked down on, even as the workers themselves are expected to perform that service with a smile.
This all leads to a really interesting concept Jaffe discusses called hope labor. You know what this is? It's the unpaid internship. You work for free, maybe for exposure or experience, all in the hope that it turns into a real paying job down the line. But Jaffe points out the dangerous trap here. When you have a huge pool of free labor, it can actually replace the very entry-level jobs those interns were hoping to get in the first place.
So after walking us through all these different jobs, from teachers to artists to retail workers, we finally arrive at the book's title and its single most important argument.
This is it. This is Jaffe's core message, put as plainly as possible. A job is part of an economic system. And that system, she argues, is designed for one thing: profit. By its very nature, it is incapable of feeling care or affection or love. It literally cannot love you back.
To make it crystal clear, Jaffe draws this sharp line in the sand. Work, she says, is a transaction. It's one way. You give your labor, you get a wage. It has no feelings. Love, on the other hand, is all about reciprocity. It's a relationship between people. And she argues that mixing these two up, confusing one for the other, is a huge and really damaging mistake.
So if our jobs can't love us back, then what are we supposed to do? What's the answer? Well, Jaffe's conclusion is both simple and, I think, really profound. We need to stop looking for love from our employers and start looking for it and giving it to each other. The solution isn't a better, more passionate job. It's better, stronger relationships with other people.
So what's the game plan? Jaffe lays out a path forward that's all about solidarity. Step 1 is just to call a spade, recognize that your work is work, not your life's passion. Step 2 is realizing that your stress, your burnout, you're not alone in that, it's a shared experience. And that leads to the crucial third step: connecting with your coworkers, your fellow workers, to build power together and demand better.
And so we'll end with the same provocative question Jaffe leaves us with. Just think about it for a second. If you didn't have to work to survive, if your time was truly your own, what would you do with it? Who would you be? It's a question that challenges us to imagine a world where our lives aren't defined by our jobs, but by our communities, our connections, and, ultimately, by real, reciprocal love.